Question I get asked quite frequently is, why do you ignore the engineering tab and the electronic tech? Surely if you rush the research bonuses, they're going to pay off in the long run, because technically you're always researching. So therefore, this will just feed back into your playstyle anyway, won't it? Will it? Maybe not. I don't know. And to be honest with you, I'm willing to experiment with this one and actually find out if these are actually worth it or not. But most times, I don't really focus too much on electronic engineering. I focus on the stuff that gives me firepower in battles, and that tends to pay off for the divisions winning, and therefore you don't really need to worry too much about engineering. For the most part, the only reason you want to research bonuses is to get those future technologies a little bit early. But seeing as they've nerfed ahead of time bonus, I feel like this is less worth it than it's ever been before. But you know what? I'm willing to experiment in a basic game that I've created right now to see if there's any research that's really worth your time. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to research from fighters, small airframes, from bottom to top at the very, very start of the game. So of course, both of them are going to be ahead of time, which is not ideal. And as I said to you before, they've nerfed ahead of time penalties significantly. So now it's really not worth it anyway. But regardless, we're going to start researching that from the start of the game. And then simultaneously, we'll also start working on electronic engineering. Now we'll try our absolute best to stack as many of these bonuses as possible by, let's say, going for fighters, which gives a 15% research speed, and as well as going for electronics concern too. So we'll specifically try and tech towards that path. I don't want to insert any other variables in the game because I don't want to create a different result. Next we think too, should I really be doing these electronics concerns? But if it's all about stacking as much research as possible, surely that's what we should be doing. Yeah, I'll do that, but I'll try and remember the order I did it, so we'll make it a fair test if we do it without doing that specific path. So this is the save game, and with this save game, I'm going to cheat in some political power. So we're going to go for Submarine Spitfire, Supermarine. I always say Submarine. 15% extra research. Top that off as well, we're going to go for Electronic Concern, which means electronics are going to research quicker. So the electronics research, speed up electronics tech, which gives more research, more of what you already want, right? Yep. Top that up as well. If we go into Air Doctrine, we have the ability in the Officer Corps to get light aircraft speed plus 15%. So we'll do that one as well. And also top that off, we get free trade, which gives a bonus of 5% research. Top that off as well, as the UK, you do give it access to get refugees from Germany and Italy, hurting our stability, but giving us overall more research potential. So if we just wait 1 day of game time, the maximum research we're getting now is 23%. So what I'm basically going to do now is play a game where I try and research planes and see if I was not to take advantage of those bonuses, what level of research I would get. There's probably a bunch of variables I've forgotten about that probably won't play an impact in this, but we'll see where we go and we'll see where we end up. I'm actually fascinated if we go from 1936 to 1940, how much extra days we will get for our small airframe to make it worth our while, or if it'll not be worth our while. We'll see. And off we go. So one other variable I think might be worthwhile to understand is because we're researching a plane that's ahead of time, we might not getting a fair result when it comes down just to overall research time. But at the end of the day, I think the reason in Hoi 4 you stack research bonuses is you want to research stuff that is ahead of everyone else so you can take advantage of the better stats, right? Another variable as well that's worth mentioning is the UK has the option, you go under the fighter command path, an option to research fighters significantly quicker. So I suppose the meta would be to research the Spitfire, which is the improved small airframe, get the national focus to get the ahead of time bonus, then research the Spiteful, which is the advanced small airframe. So therefore you can actually use this during the war, which normally you wouldn't normally have the option to do that. So just to recap, we're stacking as many research bonuses as possible to see if it makes a worthy impact for researching things ahead of time. So first of all, the first mechanical computing's finishing game is a 4% research bonus. Boom, shaved off a little bit of time, and then straight away we're going to hop on to the computing machine. Another variable that's worth mentioning is there's called research juggling, where you have a free research spot that saves 30 days, and then you juggle the research to shave off 30 days off one specific research. So let's say I would change from this to, let's say, the heavy large airframe, and then research from here, which would use these 30 days that we've banked to remove it from a fight. It's a really weird way of trying your best to try and remove extra days off. You know, I personally don't like to use that method because I think it's a little bit too fiddly, and you're potentially only shaving off potentially up to like 60 days, maybe up to maximum 3 months. And the time frame we're going to do this is going to be from 1936 to 1940. So 1st of January 1936 to 1st of January 1940. And then you probably think that's a weird time frame. So for the most part, when you're preparing for a war, that's when most of the planning goes into. And I think if you do most of it within that time frame, you'll be able to be prepared for the war to use the best possible aircraft. Don't forget, this Spitfire is 1940 tech. You can see here, it's 3 years ahead of time, 4 years ahead of time when I started researching it from the very, very start of the game. As you can see there, you can see that the ahead of time penalty is 3 years, and this is adding on extra variable like 700% when we started out, but as time drops down, that amount does go down significantly as well. Computing machine as been complete, and then we immediately jump onto the next one, which is the improved computing machine. What did that do? That previous one gave an extra 5%, so we've got 4%, 5%, 8%, and the bottom one is another further 8%, giving the additional overall bonus to research time of a plus 32% more. So usually 100% is the base amount, and increased research speed up to 132% with those additional bonuses listed above. Okay, we're coming up to the last 100 days of the Spitfire research now. It is still considered ahead of time by 2 years. So in most cases, you never really want to be doing this because you're going to be in a situation where this extra ahead of time penalty that slowed down this research slot could have been used to research many other technologies that weren't ahead of time. So it usually isn't normally cost effective to do this. But once again, this is just for this specific scenario. Improved small airframe. And then immediately we're going to hop onto the advanced small airframe, taking a total amount of 1,071 days is ahead of time by almost 6 years. Almost. Remember, we're not going to be able to research all of these by 1940, but we'll have like a marker on how far we've gotten to give a bit of an idea of how much progress we've made so we can compare like for like. All right, we're heading towards 1939, the road to war. And we have 820 days left for the most advanced small airframe fighter. Okay, next one is finished. And we have the advanced computer machine, giving an additional 8% on top of that as well. Okay, guys, very small change of plan. I've decided instead of going to the 1st of January, 1940, and then looking how much time we've got left, it might just be better off visually to go all the way until the advanced small airframe is researched. And therefore, we've got like a proper gauge on how ahead of time we actually are. So it looks like we are going to research in 1940. Oh, maybe not. No, it doesn't look like we'll get it in 1940. We'll probably just get it in 1941. There's also another fact I've just realized too. We could actually have gone for nuclear research as well. Be aware the base amount of time to research the nuclear techs is significantly higher than some of the others as well. The base amount is 500 days for each of them. So it's probably not likely we would have been able to get atomic research at the start of the game. And it wouldn't have been a realistic scenario either, being that why would you ever research nuclear tech at the very start of the game? And it only gives 4% research anyway, the first one. The other ones only just give the nuclear actual techs. Oh, it looks like it's just going to miss 1940, and we're into 1941. And the date is the 5th of January, 1941, and we have got the advanced small airframe as the UK. So I'll admit, yes, I understand. As the UK, you could have got the additional, the 50% reduction to the time of researching this plane if you'd gone for the national focus tree. But we want to just take out the variable of a national focus tree and just focus on the actual raw advisors and the options you've got at your hand at the very start of the game. So the question would be is how much time do you think you're going to save if you don't specifically go free trade, the Supermarine Designer and the English Electric research, as well as stacking the electronic buffs as well. So all we're going to do is the exact same thing again, but just work down the fighters and just see what date we get to research advanced small frame without those additional research bonuses stacked. Oh, and of course as well, not having the refugees from Italy and Germany as well. At the end of the day, the question we're always going to be asking, is it worthwhile to research these extra technologies? That's the big question that's at hand. And a lot of the time, my instincts have told me that's not going to be beneficial. But let me know, comment below how long you think it will be for this specific research. Will it be an extra 6 months? Will it be 1 month? Will it be a whole year maybe? It's going to be interesting to find out. And we're off. I had to research something else, something that didn't give me a buff to research. In this case, we went for experimental rockets. Okay, small airframe is done. November 1938. I can't even remember in the last run how much quicker that was. Falling out of my head. I should have written that down. Regardless, off we go. Okay, I'm starting to see the difference here is massive. So the obvious thing to say is, well, it's going to be at least 30% faster, isn't it? Because that was the bonus you stacked on top. Yeah, kind of, but there's kind of a lot of calculations happening on the back end. It's not as black and white as that. There's kind of things that happen in the real world, like you say 30% faster. Well, it'd be 30% faster then, wouldn't it? You know, instead of 100 days, it'd be 70 days. because that's a real world example, but there's kind of like a lot of spaghetti code in the back end that how it calculates these numbers. And I wanted to see a like for like comparison to see if the difference was actually a worthwhile one in game. And we just seen there, for instance, this advanced small airframe on the previous run was about 1,000 days from the get-go. And that worked out now 1,300 days. So on average, if I'm going to take a guess at this, just fudge it from this point on, it's going to be like 1943, even later maybe, potentially. Because remember, it was the 5th of January 1941 we got the advanced small airframe. Another factor that's important to note too is you will be suffering for less of a head of time penalty because you're actually researching these technologies a little bit later due to the fact that you've not got the research bonus. Does the head of time penalty though cancel out the research bonus? Is the head of time penalty so bad it voids out the extra research bonus that you're going to be getting? And that's a factor that I feel like might have an impact as well. Boom! There we go. We made it. So this is the run where we did not stack loads of research bonuses. Okay? And we've researched the advanced small airframe and it has finished research on the 26th of June 1942. So that has resulted in it being almost exactly 18 months longer to research without stacking research bonuses. It feels to me like research bonuses don't really help you if you're spreading your research out. But if you're doing like a fancy shenanigan like this when you want to research something really ahead of time, it potentially can shave off a lot of time. Be aware in this scenario, because you're going to be having one slot occupied by light frame fighters and then another slot occupied by the electronic engineering techs, you're going to have less overall research slots. And of course, at the start of the game, you always want to be focusing on your construction and your industry. So you potentially having 2 of your slots occupied could hurt your overall industry in the long run. However, you will have the most dominant air force in the game if you were to choose this method. And it will give you the ability to have absolutely kick-ass fighters. I mean, 18 months, a year and a half, almost actually. It's almost 19 months. It's almost 1 year and 7 months faster if you stack the research bonuses. So that's a massive amount. It makes me wonder if we play Road to 56 as the UK, which gives you more other research options, like one of the additional tabs, you could potentially get things even faster. The question would ask though, in a real world scenario, we're not racing to get something really ahead of time. What if you were spreading all your research equally and you weren't, for instance, trying to get these compute machines way ahead of time too? Would it just overall give you a lot more technologies to give you that extra advantage? From my perspective, I prefer to play where you're researching something ahead of time, therefore having a massive advantage over the AI. I think the biggest fruits to be gained from this, which is an old strategy that I used to do and I don't do it anymore, is researching all the artillery techs as early as possible to stack as many of those bonuses as possible. And that usually results in loads of extra soft attack on your infantry, therefore a massive advantage versus the AI. Overall, multiplayer, you don't want to do this because you need to be able to research multiple things, and having half of your research slots occupied for the majority of the game is probably not a good idea. Overall, against the AI though, I think there's some really good options here to gain some technologies that give you that extra edge significantly earlier, so therefore you can do a loads of extra damage. I think this is only viable if you've got a minimum of 4 research slots, ideally 5. So any of the minor nations of Europe or maybe the minor nations of South America are not going to be worthwhile to do this with, especially if you're wanting to branch out into multiple areas, which you're not going to have the ability to do that. So it's not something I would recommend to do. Overall, research stacking does appear to work and it does field some big benefits. However, in a realistic scenario where you're going to be branching out more, would it be effective? I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think about this experiment. Comment below. Any other experiments you'd like me to try? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Anyway, if you want to see another video like this, give this one a go. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.